So basically, this is how we fucking do it, man. Kebabbed up from fucking.
So does that look at the camera?
You know, fucking, I don't, doesn't matter, mate. We're just talking to each other. It doesn't matter. You talk to fucking whoever you want. Anyway, hello there and welcome to Melbourne Unreal, where we are mastering music and mastering life. I'm your host, Tony JacktheBear Mantz, and we're coming to you from Deluxe Mastering here in Melbourne, Australia, where we are, doing our thing. And today I'm really, really happy to finally get one of my very best friends, and one of the nicest blokes in the industry, Phil K.
Oh, mate.
Mate.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here, mate. You might want to speak up a bit because this fucking mic is one of those.
All right, I'll have to put my big voice on.
Your fucking big boy voice.
All right, okay.
How are you, mate?
I'm all right, just finished work, come to see you, have a bit of food and talk some stuff to your friends here.
Yeah, mate. How was the food tonight? Today, talk kebabs all right.
Town hall, mate.
You know?
You can't go wrong there, can you?
You know, fucking, if it's good enough for Anthony Bourdain, it's good enough for us, mate.
Correct.
So anyway, mate, I got you here because I thought, fuck, I've known you for fucking nearly how long? 20 years now?
20 years, yeah.
20 odd years. Met you back when you were working at Central Station Records.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget the first time I met you when I was introduced to you, and I just got a Pro Tools system, which was pretty new technology, and I remember, said, "Oh, g'day, mate. My name's Tony. Nice to meet you. I've just been overseas." Yeah. And you're just looking at me like,
"Who's this dickhead?"
And what?
Standard. Yeah, that sounds like me. Yeah.
It's so funny.
I thought you said I was a nice bloke.
So that was the beginning. So anyway, mate, I thought we'd look. We're not going to get a lot. Like, fuck, man, there's so much to talk about. We've only got about an hour because
an hour. That's a long time to talk.
It's still, mate, but fuck, try and cram in 20-year career of yours.
Oh well,
we
can give it a shot.
And I know, and like it's funny because when I spoke to Phil about a week ago, I've been trying to get Phil for a while anyway because he's fucking busy. He's always got so much on the go. And I said to him, mate, listen, I want to get you on the podcast. And he's going, why?
Well, it's true. Why?
Why? What's there to talk about, mate? But it just goes to show, like, this bloke, he's fucking so humble about what he's done in his life. So, mate, if fucking, let's face it, you've toured internationally with the biggest name DJs in the world. You played at fucking Glastonbury. You've like Sasha, Digweed, Dave Seaman, fucking John Morales. Like every big international fucking superstar DJ just about that you could talk about, you fucking played with. You have friendly relationships with. You fucking you make tunes. You've done records that have done extremely well over the years in clubs. You've fucking Pioneer in Japan love you because you're this, Phil's for those of you who don't know, Phil's a incredibly knowledgeable guy when it comes to the techie stuff, when it comes to making music, DJing. They fucking love you, mate. You beta test all shit. You've been in Japan recently, right? And you got to see some of the new shit over there?
Yeah, I did.
So what's going on with fucking Pioneer, or what can you tell us without having to fucking slaughter me?
Well, look, they've got a really interesting product map coming up. I guess, being their own entity now, they've kind of recently, Pioneer DJ has I guess been sold from Pioneer. So I guess Pioneer DJ is its own entity now, and leaving the Pioneer brand and going and doing being in their own office. I guess part of the deal was they took away all their engineering teams, all their marketing teams, every person that worked at the main office. So I guess it being one of the bigger departments for Pioneer proper, there was a lot of resources thrown at that, and now I guess being on its own, that all these resources are still there. So plus they've got this new conglomerate on top of them every month going, what have you got, what have you got, what have you got, what have you got?
Yeah.
Now I don't really know whether this is true or not, but what I've heard about Japan and engineers is you can't sack an engineer from their job in Japan. So, if you've got a company and you've got 200 engineers or 300 engineers, and all of a sudden you don't need 300 engineers, I don't think it's just a simple case of, sorry mate, we don't need you, fuck off, I don't think they do that. So they've got this huge engineering team, and they're doing a lot of work, a lot. So, I mean, over the years, they've had their range of, a mixer or three, or, a couple of CDJs, and that it's a lot more to it now, and there's going to be some really interesting stuff coming through over the next year. Yeah.
So what do you reckon, like, how did it all start, actually? Like I still don't even know myself. How did that relationship begin?
It started off when Pioneer in Australia, I mean, they started making DJ gear, and I remember I was managing a record store in Paran called DMC, and we were selling equipment out of there, and in those days, it was record stores, that's what it was about, and in that area, generally, there was, if you were a DJ and you wanted to buy records, then that was one of the sort of destinations you went to, because there was 4 or 5 record stores in the area within walking distance.
Yeah.
And you could go and you could, there was a techno shop, and then there was something that was more CD based, and then there was, house, and there was, hip hop, and it was just all there, right?
Yeah.
So in the day, I remember when Pioneer first, came on board with a mixer. A guy called Collie Chappell, who's now retired from Pioneer, he came in, and now he'd gone to all the stores in Melbourne and said, hey, we've got this new product, and they all just laughed at him because it wasn't a DJ brand,
Right.
And again, this people can be very dismissive. Even today, people are very dismissive over things they don't really know about. But I guess at the time, I was fortunate enough at that point to have played on that mixer, and I kind of knew what was going on. I kind of went, well, this is kind of interesting, because the thing that was different about it was the digital effects section, which, I guess as a DJ, digital effects and reading about, your Louis Vegas or these people that used to run external effects units to DJ with always had me kind of
intrigued.
I was like, well, how do they do that? When I saw it built in, I was like, okay, well, this is really interesting. I wonder what I can do with this.
Yeah.
And he came in and he just wanted us to sell his equipment, and so I went, yeah, okay, let's do it. So at that point, we became the only retailer for Pioneer DJ equipment in the country.
Yeah.
And, I guess the sales went from 0 to, quite substantial for, the market at the time.
Yeah.
So the guys in Japan, when they went to have their annual meeting, they said to colleagues, so what have you done in Australia? We look at your sales figures and things have just really ramped up. What's been going on? He goes, well, nothing really. There's this guy in Melbourne, and, he seems to know about our equipment, and yeah, I just basically all the sales are going through there. So then they asked him for me to then go and train people in Southeast Asia and show them what I'm doing and how I'm selling their equipment.
Yeah.
And so we did that the first time, and I mean, at the time there was a piece of equipment. It was an external effects unit called an EFX 500, and they just bought out a mixer called the DJ M600, and they got me to go to Singapore, and one of the engineers was in Singapore. So I went and set up all the equipment, and one of the things that I had to do was route, an external effector through a send return channel. So, in and out as a send return, and, so I set it all up and make sure that it's all sort of routed correctly. And there was a thing that I used to overload this effects unit and used to make it do this looping feature, which really wasn't built into it, but I guess as a user, I just thought, these guys are fucking awesome, what they've done.
Yeah.
So, so I set up the unit, made my little effects loop really quickly, and, the engineer says, oh, you've just done a loop on the mix. I went, no, I just did a loop on the effector. He goes, the effector doesn't do loops. I'm like, well, there's a loop in it, there's the volume. And he's like, no. I went, yeah, well, this is it. He goes, how did you do that? I went, well, I did this and I did that. And he's just kind of looking at me really weird, and he gets on the phone, he starts speaking to the guys in Tokyo. And then he got off the phone. He goes, oh, I'll do it again. So I did it, and he's kind of explaining to these guys what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then after I did that, he said, oh, what are you doing next week? I said, oh, why? He goes, I need you to come to Japan. I need you to show these guys what you're doing. So that was it. So I went to Japan and, sat in a room with all these engineers and, started doing a bit of a show for them. And, it was really interesting. Like, a lot of the things that I'd kind of discovered which I kind of assumed that it was kind of a given that, oh yeah, they designed this. This is awesome. They never really intended for that, you know.
One of those happy accidents.
Oh, a lot of happy accidents, actually. Why did you do this? And why did you, oh my God, you routed this through that. Wow, you know, wow. So, you know, it was really good because what that did was it inspired, once they saw that and saw how it was being used and abused, it kind of inspired a lot of the guys to kind of, you know, create effects, like, you know, create like a, you know, so you're on a DJ and mixer now, you look at a roll effect. That was inspired by that session in, you know, and then certain other different things. And then, once that happened, then I was constantly invited back to test things. And, you know, more recently I went over on my own because I love going to Japan.
Yeah. What do you like about Japan?
I just love the people. I just love the culture. I love the food, obviously. You know, it's probably one of the most probably one of the busiest places in the world, but the amount of order that's there is what blows me away, you know, just how respectful people are.
Yeah, that's what I say, everyone's really polite and
it's beautiful.
It's just
really good. It's non-threatening, you know. There's like you've lived in London, I've lived in America, I've lived in Australia, and you know, like there's certain places you just don't go in the daylight or so much more after dark. You know, Japan's definitely not like that. There's no point in time where you're walking around anywhere and feeling threatened. You know, everywhere you go, it's just nice. You know, it's not non-threatening.
Yeah.
So that's why I like it.
It's an interesting mixture of ancient and new. They just managed to blend.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You meet some people that are so on the technology thing, but then you meet some other people. Like I met these guys. I went to this restaurant in Kyoto, and it was, you know, I was just in the area and just did a quick, you know, Google map. Where am I? Bang, I'm here. Typed in teppanyaki. Right, show me everything in the area.
Yeah.
Found this little place. It was just in this little laneway, and it was, you know, 5 stars all around. Really good reviews. Walked in there, ate, food was amazing. Guy goes, so how did you find me? I said, oh, you're on the internet. He said, what do you mean I'm on the internet? You know? And then, you know, and then I showed him and he was just like, he was freaking out. And he's called his wife over and they're freaking out. Oh my God, we're on the internet. And he's like, what? Like, you're on the phone, man. Like, yeah, they were blown away. So it's really, you know, like you've got these real people that are, you know, a lot of my friends, they're the engineers for Pioneer and Roland, and you know, they're so technology focused to, you know, they'll blow you awake. And they're engineers. They're not just like technology buffs. They're engineers. You know?
Proper.
And then you've got on the other side of the coin, you've got, you know, these other people that just don't get it. I mean, you'd think that everyone does, but no.
Yeah. No, I actually would like to visit Japan one day. I reckon I find it.
You should. It's great.
I find it a really, really fascinating place. So mate, how'd you all get started? Tell us just quickly how the start, mate.
Well, well, you know, I guess.
Did you always want to be a DJ? Like, was it always?
Well, look, I guess when I was like 8 or 9 years old, or 10 years old, I remember sitting in my room when I was supposed to be doing homework, and I had like this AM radio. Yeah. Now, again, why did I do this, and why was I inclined to do this? I'd sit in my room, and I'd have my AM radio because there wasn't FM at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'd scan the channels for hours. I'd sit there and I'd go to the next station. I'd listen to what they were playing and I'd write it down. So I had to be really clued up as to what all the songs were. So I had to know. So how did I know? I don't know. But I knew.
Yeah.
And I'd write down the name of the song, and then I'd write down the name of the next song, and I'd keep going through, and I'd never listen to a station. I'd listen to all the stations for hours.
Right.
And then I'd write every song down for the next 4 or 5 hours. When I heard the song played again, I'd put a little tick next to it. So that at the end of the night, I had my own top 40.
Yeah.
Right. So kind of that, you know, that's not normal behaviour.
No, nothing about you is normal, dude, that's for sure.
So I guess that was kind of the start of something that, I don't know, wasn't really wanting to know about music and wanting this thing to know what is popular and what people are actually listening to.
Yeah.
That was something, I don't know why I wanted to know that, but I wanted to know that.
There was something in there that just needed to know.
And then I heard, when I was probably about 11, I went to this party and I heard this guy mixing 2 records, and I just kind of like, and it kept happening, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
You know, like, why isn't the song ending?
Yeah.
You know, so this was like 1982, you know? So I go up and I'm watching this dude and he's touching the record. I'm like, fuck. He's touching the record. Like, I'm not allowed to touch the record. Like, what's he? And I'm watching him. I'm not saying nothing. I'm just like, wow. You know, and that's when I knew, right, I want to learn how to do that. And then And then I went to another party, and I was probably a couple of years later, and I kind of got it, and I heard this guy, and at that point I thought I knew about music because I'd be listening to the radio, and I had no idea about
imported records
or nothing. I just knew what I was getting fed from the radio, whatever resources I had, because obviously there was no internet, there was no SoundCloud, there was nothing of that shit.
Correct.
And then I went to this party, and I heard this guy playing Kool and the Gang, and it was Get Down On It, and I'm like, at that point, it was probably the best record I'd ever heard in my life. I'm like, how the fuck do I not know this record? Why? I know all the records. Why don't I know this record? And that was a new record. And then I went up to this dude, and I'm like, hey man, what's this record? And he told me, and I go, yeah, how come I haven't heard it? He goes, because it's an import. And I'm thinking, I don't know, like, what do you mean it's an import? He goes, from America. And I'm thinking, well, I hear American records on the radio. Why haven't I heard this American record?
Yeah.
He goes, look, there's only one place you can buy it. They sell imports, Central Station. And I was like, where's that? He goes, in the city. So sure enough, the next, when I was supposed to go to school, didn't go. Got on the tram, went all the way to the city, found this shop, went in there, and it was just like, fuck, okay. And I could hear all this music that I've never heard before. Yeah. And it was all electronic, and it had a beat, and I was like, fuck, this is it. And that was it. So that was about 13. Yeah. And then by 14, I bought Technics 1200s from working at Macca's. Yeah. And then I guess at school I probably had the most records than anyone, and everyone used to say, oh, come and play at my party. Mm-hmm. So it was just in my area, so I had a Coles trolley, like a shopping trolley, and they used to put me records in there, and I had, all the thugs, because no one would jump me because all my mates were all the thugs, right?
Of course.
So all the thugs would just follow me with my record box and, smoke ciggies and all the rest of it, and we used to walk to the party, play the party, and then they used to walk me home so I'd never get jumped, Yeah.
Because Northcote back then was...
it's pretty rough.
It was a bit rough back then.
But I guess I knew all the rough people. I kind of knew, like they were either my friends or my friends' brothers, so they all kind of knew. And I was always with 10 or 15 dudes anyway. Walking. Wasn't going to walk the streets with...
records and turntables and shit like that.
It wasn't going to happen.
Be a soft target. No. It's funny, before you mentioned about how you first time you heard someone mixing, how you were just going, what the fuck's going on here? I'm going to fast forward a bit to the time when you and I, it's the same thing was said to me, fast forward 1995 or 6, when you and I were doing that Party Hard show for Stereo. And for those who don't know, Phil and I used to do a show called Party Hard. It was shit. It was a syndicated mix show. It was the first syndicated mix show on commercial radio.
Nationally syndicated. Nationally
syndicated radio show. And so Phil was pretty much the genius behind putting it all together. And I remember he'd say, look, we've got to get, no, mate, we've got to fucking do this in key. We've got to mix it in key, mate. This was the first time I really got hear anything about key mixing, so everything just harmonically blend. Anyway, the story I want to get to is that after the first one we did, and the phones went off the hook, I was speaking to fucking Bruce, I forget his surname, at MCM, and he said, mate, the response has been amazing, but fuck, when one song finishes, like, the next one starts and we can't really pick between the fact we just can't.
Too smooth, mate.
It's just too smooth. It's too fucking smooth.
Job done.
So, but that's the essence, mate, isn't it? That's the fucking essence. Absolutely.
Doof, non-stop.
So, but you were fucking 12 or 10 or 11 at the time. He's a grown-ass man at a time when DJing was pretty much alive and well, and
it was in its infancy. So I guess you're looking back at you're talking about 1981. I mean, a 12-inch record got invented in 1976. Right. So there's a fucking dude in Oakley or Marambina or some butt-fuck nowhere suburb. Yeah. Right, and this dude's mixing records in 1981 or 1982. So I don't know who that was. Yeah. But he was on the fucking money. For sure. Like being in Melbourne and knowing how to beat mix records.
Yeah, progressive.
Right. I mean, was there 1200s? I don't even know. I don't think there would have been a 1200.
Mate, there were dudes, James Fraser, another DJ friend of ours, used to tell me about guys in Sydney that were beat mixing on cassettes.
Right.
With pitch controls and that. Yeah, right. I mean, it's like, it's innovation. It's always innovation, isn't it? Like getting something and just getting the fucking most out of it. And
well, not really. I mean,
thinking outside the box and how to use it.
Think about it, and this is what I say to people all the time, people talk to me about DJing and, the magic's gone. Well, it is, because, when people used to see me DJ back in the day when I was using records, okay, I mean, if you think about what you were actually doing, you were hacking the system. Like, you had these 2 machines that were just made for you to pick up, put the needle on, and press play and go.
Yeah.
So, and your dad told you never to touch it, but there you were doing the punk thing and fucking going against everything your dad told you, touching a record, moving it, stopping it, playing it forward, and then getting another one, and then using a pitch control and matching those beats together. So, you know, and when anybody went to try that themselves, they weren't going to get it.
Yeah.
You know, it was a difficult thing to do. So people would watch you in those days. People would watch you perform magic.
Yeah.
It was an illusion, you know, and that's what it was. It was an element of magic. Plus, if you add into the mix, you know, back in the day, you used to have all the white labels and all the promos before anyone else in Australia had them.
Yeah.
So they're listening to sounds coming off your turntables that didn't exist to the general public.
Yeah.
And you're doing it and presenting it in a way that was never supposed to be invented.
Yeah.
Someone kind of did it and it kind of worked. And you know, as you look at the machines of today, they're all designed for that purpose.
Yeah.
You're not hacking the system to get it to do something that it's never made to do. It was made to sync and press the button and play, and it's all working, right?
So, do you still think though that, for me, because I'm not a DJ, I'm not a DJ's asshole.
Well, I'm embarrassed to say I'm a DJ now. It's actually quite embarrassing.
Really?
It is.
I would have thought, okay, well,
It's embarrassing.
okay, well, here's the thing. For me, not being a technician of a turntable, it never was. But for me, it was always about programming and a DJ, reading an audience and intuitively feeling what to play.
Yeah.
So don't you think even in the current climate with all the gear...
Well, I think
that's
that's what we've got left. That's what we've got left. I mean, I guess that's what separates me from, you know, little Joe with this 15, you know, 150, 128K MP3s.
Yeah.
What separates me is, my knowledge of music.
Yep.
Because really, when you think about it, me and little Joe, we've both got access to the same music.
Today?
Once the internet's there, and you can know where you're going, but what separates me from that little guy is, my knowledge of music. Like, I can go back and think to 1982 and go, fuck, what was I listening to? What was that guy playing in 82 that made me lose my shit? Now, to me, a record that I was playing and losing my shit to in 1982, that from a kid that didn't really know a great deal about genres or whatever, there was something intrinsic in that record that drew me towards it.
Yeah.
That I reckon, to this day, that record still has that on a person. There's something in that record that makes someone go, fuck, this is awesome.
There's magic in it, yeah.
So you can go back and you can look at all that. And obviously from my experience of playing, you know, music to people, I can put things together, again, not according to genre, but, you know, chord progressions and keys and not beat structures. So you can really go from, you know, this genre to that genre to that genre to that genre, and it kind of feels like, you know, it was supposed to be there. Whereas somebody that's, you know, kind of doesn't have that experience. The only way really they're connecting records is because they've got the same beat structure and they kind of sound the same.
Yeah.
Which, you know, you do 4 or 5 of that in a row, it's just like having a wank, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it kind of gets you there, but it's shit.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. No,
You know?
I know, I hear you. I remember actually, like, back before people were making, when it was just MIDI based, before audio came in, I remember, because I remember that was, when I actually made an attempt to do it, just a very feeble attempt. But you guys, Anthony Papa, and fucking Gab Oliver, right? Fucking, and Aussie LA, right? Were probably, back then, probably amongst the smoothest mixing DJs. But I think what used to fuck with my head is after I would try and do something, because all those records are always floating.
Yeah.
And that required absolute
Finesse
fucking precision.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, that's a skill, mate. And that's gone.
Yeah,
and that's gone today too.
I mean,
they don't need it because the records aren't made that way.
Well, they're not. But, you know, I guess, you know, in this day and age as well, you know, again, you think about, you know, again, you know, you think like me. I play on a laptop, right? And people, fucking laptop DJs, and that's like, I get fucked. First of all, I don't have anything to prove to anyone. I've got a fucking huge record collection, more than most people will ever dream about in terms of records. And I haven't really touched them in about 10 years. And there's a fuckload of them, right?
Yeah.
And people, it's the quality and it's this and it's that. And it's like, yeah, whatever. It was the only game in town. You know, that's why we went there. It wasn't because they sounded better or they were easier to carry. It's whatever. But again, in this day and age, you've got your computer, you hit sync, you know, everything syncs up. But again, you know, when you're sitting there playing records that floated in 1985, well, guess what? They still float in 2016.
Yeah.
And again, this is another test of DJ. So when I'm sitting and I'm playing retro records and I'm playing, you know, records that do float, no computer's going to help me mix those.
Yeah, no.
I have to know how to mix them.
Yeah.
If they don't know how to mix them, then you're screwed.
You're fucked.
You're right. It's not going to work. So, you know, because there's a grid, and a grid falls on, you know, if you're making computer music at 128, the grid's at 128, and you hit sync and everything locks in. But, you know, when records go between 128 and 126 and 130, sorry, no technology is going to help you at that point, you know.
So how did you start making music? When did you actually start thinking about, you know, getting, because you're always into technology.
Well, I love technology, and I guess, you know, me and I remember, you know, I remember meeting Ivan at DMC, early DMC days. Ivan, and then going to his studio in Wonga Park and, you know, figuring out samplers and, you know, SH101s and Juno 106s and mixing desks and Alesis quadriverbs and all, you know, that kind of stuff, and how that all... I never really had an idea how it all I kind of figured out how it all, you know, patched in and worked, but I still didn't know how to use Notator, you know, which is the, you know,
the MIDI sequencer.
Sequencer.
Yeah.
But, you know, it kind of got me thinking about composition, and it kind of got me thinking about what kind of records that I really want to make. And, you know, and then so we went sort of from there, and then I met Andy Page. And
I remember that time you told me about Andy, because he just came back from Tasmania, and Phil just came back from Tasmania, said, dude, I met this guy in Tasmania, he's an amazing fucking wicked guitar player, but fuck, this guy can write fucking tunes. I'm going, really? A guy shredded, but he was a shredder.
It was a shredder.
It was a shredder, right?
And he still is, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he's working with Hans Zimmer.
He's with Hans Zimmer
now. Hans Zimmer now.
And he's got some fucking modular thing that Hans has given him. But yeah, like I met Andy, and then Andy taught me a lot. You know, Andy taught me, you know, hard disk audio, obviously, you know, taught me so much about you know, music and arrangements and things like that. Like I kind of always had the ear for it, but you know, in terms of sitting there with somebody so talented, and for me, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me in terms of not being a cocky cunt, you know, because when you sit around with people that ooze talent like that, you're always comparing yourself against that, and you can never, ever reach that point, you know. And that's why for me, I was like, oh yeah, you know, whatever, you know, little old Phil. And that's what it is for me, because I know what talented is. I know what out of control talented is. I've seen it with my own eyes, and I'll never be that. Like, I am what I am, and I'm happy with what I am, but that's why I always do play it down, because I really know what.
But it's also relative as well, mate. I think it's also relative. I mean, there's always different types of talent, but I think you're right. I think you can't really get too caught up in anything, in what I do, man. There's a lot of other mastering engineers who I put up at a higher level, but if you sit there and you compare yourself too much, it can get you down. I
don't think it gets me down. But it just gives me a sense of reality.
For sure, but
you know, and that's the reality.
Yeah, but the name of the game, though, is to improve yourself. And I think if you can look at where you are, look over your shoulder, and look at your progress, which is measurable, then that's really where it's at.
But you know, I've always got something to aspire to, and you know, if I think back to my abilities 10 years ago to my abilities now, you know, like I've definitely improved a hell of a lot. But where did that come from? Was that me trying to be better, or was that because technology's helped me to be better and me grasping the technology? And I think if I had to give you an answer to that question, it would be that technology's helped me a lot. Like the technology of composition has helped me a lot more. Yeah. Right.
But when you say though that it's also how you use the technology, because look, you took the point. All right,
technology is a tool.
Okay, yeah, right? but you take the example of that pioneer thing, right? In the early stages, you took a piece of technology that was not designed to do something, and yet somehow, whether you want to call it fluke or whether you want to call it whatever, you fucking did it. You still managed to fucking squeeze that bitch to the point where it would scream at you and do something. Yeah. So the technology wasn't, in this instance, making you better. You actually utilize the technology to do something better with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the difference.
And it is. I think you got to have a grasp, and you've got to.
Fuck yeah.
You know, and again, you've got to have the ideas to feed the technology.
Most definitely.
Because the technology is not going to feed you ideas.
Yeah.
The ideas still have to come out of you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know. So yeah. I think for me, I think the technology. If I look at the things that I'm kind of using to create, you know, my ideas that inspire me now, these things just happen very naturally and without really me thinking any longer.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, 10 years ago, I really had to set myself up for a session. I had to, all right, I'm going in, I'm going to sit down to my computer and I'm going to do this and I'm going to, whereas now it's kind of like, you know, I break open an iPad while I'm sitting there, you know, watching a video, and I'm kind of bored because the video's shit, and I'll open an iPad and I'll open a session in, you know, a core gadget, which is, you know, an iPad app, and then within 10 minutes, you know, it's just a throwaway idea that you think, oh well, that was kind of fun, ha ha ha, you know. You turn it off, you go back, you know, 2 days later, you plug it into your main system, you listen to it, it's like, well, there's 3/4 of a record just done. That you just instantly. Now, 10 years ago, did I have an iPad?
No, you didn't. But I'll tell you what you did. 10 years ago, you were at a level of learning that they call consciously incompetent, which is where people, when they're new at something, it's a case of, okay, right?
Yeah.
And then repetition being the mother of skill.
Yeah.
You get better, you get to a point of being consciously competent where you're kind of confident with it, you don't have to stop. And then you get to that level of being unconsciously competent, which is like you do it in your fucking sleep.
Yeah. Well, look, I wouldn't say I'm that with music production, but
in terms of getting the shit done, you don't have to think as much. You're more in flow. You're more in flow with it, mate.
I think what it is, I think it's more because you haven't set yourself up for that session. You know, you're in a very relaxed state of mind, and you're not really expecting that much out of yourself, you know? Because when you go up, turn along my kit and I'll set up everything like that, you're consciously setting yourself up for creation.
Yeah.
And, you know, and sometimes it just doesn't happen like that. It's not, you can't just go, oh, it's going to happen now. It doesn't happen like that, you know? But sometimes when you're relaxed, it's almost like, you know, when you're going to sleep and, you know, the ideas come to you when you go to sleep.
Your brain,
because you're relaxed. Yeah. And I think that's the same with music, you know, and it's having access to those little devices that you can have sitting on your fucking, you know, on your coffee table, you know, that as soon as that moment you feel like, oh, I can hear something, hang on a minute, fucking open it, capture it. That's the moments. That's it. It's not no longer about that you know, that conscious decision to go and turn on all your equipment and make a song or make a record. And that's, I think, for me, what's helping me a lot and inspiring me a lot more is the fact that I don't have to make the conscious decision that, hey, I'm going to go make a track. In whatever time that, if I've got enough devices sitting around me, and I get to a point where I feel like I'm inspired or bored, I can just pick up a device, put a set of headphones on if I feel like it, and come up with half a dozen ideas. Because let's face it, I think my favorite records, you know, dancing or club records, ain't that intricate or don't have, or even a lot of the best records of all time that don't really have all that many ideas in them. They've just got half a dozen really good ones that work together. And really, in 10 minutes on a little software like that, 5 or 6 ideas can come to you really, really quickly, you know, and that's all it is. And then, you know, again, you know, the perfect idea. The last track me and Danny did, you know, I was in Japan.
Danny Benucci,
But Danny, you know, and I was in Japan and I had this iPad with me and, you know, I was like, oh, Korg, Korg gadget, okay. I've heard about this, download, you know. Open up a session, first shot, okay, let's call it first shots. My first shot sat there, whatever. Oh, that's great. Oh, cool, I can do that. Oh, fuck, that's really nice. You know, put it away, closed it, come back to Australia. Danny's like, so did you do any stuff when you were away? I said, yeah, I've kind of fucked around on this iPad. And he's just, again, dismissive, right? And this is a really big thing. It's the whole dismissive concept of what constitutes writing a song, or, you know, what technology did you capture it with, or, you know, how did you go about it? So it's, iPad. And he was like, oh yeah, whatever, iPad, huh? You know, didn't really roll the eyes, but it was dismissive. It was like, you didn't really, like, whatever, if you're fucking around,
Yeah.
And then
taking the piss.
Right, yeah. And then anyway, so the next week I take my iPad and I plug it into the system as we're talking, hit play, and he's like, dude, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Because that's that iPad shit. He goes, are you fucking serious? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, man. He's like, fuck. And he goes, export. So he exported it straight to his Dropbox, opens up Ableton file, running, presses play. He's like, dude, I don't even have to fucking EQ this. Yeah. And I didn't even use headphones. So, admittedly, we went in and we polished it and we arranged it and we put extra bits and pieces and, embellished it. But the concept
was there.
The idea for the song, it was there. It was done in 10 minutes. It wasn't, it wasn't anything spectacularly fucking, So, this is what I'm saying. And this is, again, if I had to talk to you about anything in your podcast, it's dismissive people. It's people being dismissive of technology and things that you can do with technology that that people just go, well, that's mucking around. It's not mucking around anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I had a guy come into work today, Kent, and we were talking about, and again, I found myself being dismissive. Oh yeah, I work in GarageBand, and I'm like, come on, man, GarageBand. He's like, no, but fuck, no, and I'm like, I don't know. So anyway, he wanted to buy some products. So I've gone in, I've had a look at GarageBand. You know what? If you can't make a record in GarageBand in 2016, you should just fucking give up.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Give up.
It's got to that point now.
Give up. Don't fucking bother anymore.
Yeah.
If you can't put a good record together in GarageBand, just quit. Quit now. Go.
Out the door.
Fuck off.
Yeah. Don't call us. We'll call you.
And really think about it. I mean, it's just something that costs what? It's nothing.
Nothing these days.
Right? It's nothing. So
compared to what like software was back in the day, I remember my first plugin was a limiter, $1,000 for a floppy disk.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, bro.
And that's what it is. It's dismissive of technology, even DJ technology. I've got this little controller, and it's called a Pioneer Wego, okay? And it's this little fucking thing this big. And, what can I do with it? Right, so I can get software. I can put software in. I can access Spotify and mix Spotify from the cloud and DJ off the cloud and mix it and effect it and loop it and play it backwards. And, people, but what, man? Yeah, but what? I've taken this out to a club and I've DJ'd and taken the piss because that's what I have to do to test something. Yeah, sure. Did I have a backup? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But I used an iPad with no locally stored music, nothing on the iPad, music, for 7 hours.
That's awesome.
And DJ'd quite happily for 7 hours. And did anyone ask me, hey man, is there vinyl, or did you have the... No one gives a fuck.
Yeah, true.
No one dancing.
Yeah.
And again, dismissive.
Yeah.
It's a $400 controller with access to Spotify on the go.
Yeah.
And people just think it's a toy. It's not a fucking toy.
Yeah.
I know what I can do with it.
Yeah.
And if you weren't so dismissive, you could do that as well. Yeah. Because I don't think I'm any different or any smarter to the next person. And I'm not. I'm not. You know? And that's what it is. I think people become, things that we consider toys today, if we had those things 10 years ago, you would be the fucking king. But it's... And I think that's what it is. People are very dismissive of a lot of things. And I fall into that trap. And I've got to learn more not to be so dismissive.
Yeah, just respect it and be open-minded to the whole thing. Yeah. So tell me, how do you approach your gigs now? Like, when you go into a DJ set, is there any particular trail of thought or
depends what I'm doing.
Process for you?
And so obviously there's earlies, there's middle of the nights, there's late nights. So it's always going to be, when am I playing? Who am I playing with? What's the right thing to do here? What are people doing around me? What's going to work for the night? And who, like, if I'm supporting an artist, who's the artist? What do they do? If I'm warming up for somebody, how am I going to make that person, when they come on, how am I going to make them feel like they can start at the very start of what they want to do and go through their repertoire, right?
I remember I made a point. I made a post this a while ago, and this was something that really was a great fucking lesson to DJs who were warm-up DJs. Now these days it's a bit different, because now, back then, I'm talking 10, 15 years ago, a warm-up set you could have had an hour, maybe two, an hour and a half. Whereas now it's short in most cases, because now they're just trying to fuck around.
Everyone's banging it.
Yeah, but nonetheless, you're a guy who had enough profile, and you could have played up, but you still had enough humility about yourself to go, look, this is about this guy.
It's about them. It's not about you.
I'm warming. You know, I already have a name. I've got a profile.
Yeah.
I played around the world. I know fucking. And I wrote a post about it because I thought it was really worthwhile mentioning that. Do you know what I mean? When you're fucking warming up, like I said before, it's like, who am I playing? Who am I playing with? Who am I fucking here to supplement? I'm here to fucking add to the night. I'm not here to fucking be the star.
No.
Yeah?
And you know what it comes down to? And this is really important. Like, you know, if people spent more time on getting respect rather than getting attention, it's going to last a lot longer. And that's what you're talking about. You know, when you're playing with these dudes that are highly regarded.
Yeah.
You know, you can go out and get the attention for the night, but they're going to think you're a fuckhead.
Yeah.
Because you tried to outshine them, right? And it's
Yeah.
not hard. Like, you just play the wrong fucking records. You know, you're playing with somebody that starts their set at 98 beats per minute. You don't really have to do all that much to blow the fucking night for them. Really. You don't.
Yeah.
But if you know, but you can go in there and you can go, you know, I'm going to be respectful here. You know, I'm going to go for the respect. I'm not going for the attention, because attention, it's like sugar, you know.
Yeah.
It gets your attention for 5 minutes, and then what do you got after that? You got nothing, right?
Yeah.
So it's really important to, you know, it's just being respectful and just going for that, because when people walk away from that, I've had on so many occasions. You mentioned all these people, and there's so many more of them that, you know, people have rang me from Sydney, or people have rang me from London, or them themselves have told me on the night where, you know, they're like, dude, you know, man, that was fucking amazing. That's the best set I've heard in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And you weren't trying to do what they do.
Yeah.
You were just trying to make them feel comfortable. When they walk in, they're like, oh, fuck, this is going to be a really easy night for me tonight.
Yeah.
Listen to what this dude's doing. And oh my God, look at the fucking crowd. If they're going crazy to this, oh my God, I'm going to have the best night.
Yeah.
And that's what you've got to do.
Yeah.
That's the key to it.
Yeah.
Make them feel like they're going to have the easiest night in the world, and they can go to places because you've set an example where, I'm doing this weird shit, dude, and check the dance floor out.
Yeah.
If I can do it,
Yeah.
as Mr. Fucking Nobody, imagine what you're going to be able to do now.
Most definitely.
And it just lets people feel, and that's it. You know, you want to have that gig. I know, because I've been there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. So how did you get the attention of some of the international guys?
Well, that's it.
You know, just from the warm-ups.
Just doing warm-ups, playing good sets, not trying to do, you know, like I've had people come up to me, you know, say to me, you know, I'm always scared to play after me. I'm not at 10 o'clock at 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. Or I've had people say to me, you know, that was the best set I've heard in the last 5 years. Or I've had people say to me, oh my God, I don't know what you're fucking playing, but everything that you've played is amazing. What's this music? And that's from some really highly regarded people. And that's really what it is, because those people will go and they will talk.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll say, yeah, man, I was just in Melbourne. I met this dude. He was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
He played the best music. I don't know what it was. His mixing was, you know, and that's it. But again, that's the long game. You know, that's the respect game. It's not the attention game, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And the word of mouth thing too,
right?
mate.
And that's the respect. It lasts longer.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%.
And that's really what it is. It's playing, and it's not really playing a game. It's just doing it the right way, you know, because any kind of respect you're going to get from people. And then, I guess, you know, over the years you keep doing that, and then, you know, you keep, I guess, you know, you put records out, and, you know these people, and they know that you're cool, and you've got their email, or you've got their Facebook, or you've got their phone number, and you're like, hey, dude, I just finished the track. You know, they're going to listen to it.
Yeah.
Because they regard you. They regard you not as, you know, Joe Blow in the front that's on my CD.
Yeah.
They know that you're on their level. You can talk music with them, because without even saying a word, they know that they heard what you did, and they know this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He knows what he's... So if he's going to send me something, it's probably... I got to have a listen. It might be shit. Yeah. But I got to have a listen. I have to listen to it. Right. And that's really it.
So tell me, who are some of your favourite internationals that you played with?
Oh, man, I don't know. I mean, who was my favourites that I've played?
You don't have to go. It doesn't have to be in any particular order, but just
off the top of my head.
Seaman, Digweed, Sasha.
Yeah, Dave's good. All those guys are really good. I mean, look, all those guys. It was a time and a place. You know, it was if you're talking over the course of, you know, however many years. Yeah, that, you know, at the time they were, you know, I mean, in their day, those guys were, you know, superstars.
Yeah.
You know, they were really big DJs.
Could you ever imagine though, fucking years ago when DJing started, that we'd be in a time and place where a DJ would be able to command 50, 100 fucking grand,
No.
play a stadium to 100,000, 200, you know.
No.
Could you ever fucking envisage that?
No, I couldn't. No.
It's nuts,
it's
isn't it?
stupid, right? Yeah. So look, those guys were all really cool. They're all good mates of mine. They're all really cool DJs. Musically speaking, I mean, you know, if I think about it, you know, you got your Ashley Beatles, you know, people like that. You know, who else? You know, in their day, you know, just talking about
Giles Peterson.
At the time, you know, it was a time and a place, and it is with music, you know, like something that's not necessarily cool today was the coolest fucking thing ever 20 years ago. Yeah. So, you know, it's always a time and a place. You look at, you know, people like, you know, Adam Freeland or, you know, Chris Hybrid or,
Giles Peterson.
You know, Giles I never played with, you know, so I can't really comment on that. But yeah, look, there's been really good ones and there's been some really disappointing ones as well.
Yeah. You're always going to get that. Unfortunately, you're always going to get that.
But yeah, look, I can't remember, man.
What about locally? What about some of the local heads that are playing out that have been around for a while that you tend to you like or you've admired or you
know,
enjoy
look,
hearing play?
I've always said this. You know, Ozzy, who I do slow mo with, is kind of, you know, he's probably one of my favourite DJs of all time and consistently good. Like, you know, I can say Ozzy played
Didn't he get sacked from the Metro because his mixing was
too smooth? Yeah, I knew he was going to be my mate after that. But yeah, like, you're too smooth, Ozzy. And he is too smooth. But yeah, Ozzy's, you know, good. Yeah. You know, but there's some really cool people. You know, you've got your, you know, Matty Radovich, again, you know, whether you want to hear techno or R&B or hip hop or house or whatever, you know, you can bet with Matty. You can go listen to Matty on a Sunday afternoon, or you can go hear him at the Melbourne Techno Collective. And he's a real DJ, you know, and that's what it is. It's the real DJs that I like. The ones that can go and play at a wedding tonight, and then tomorrow night they're smashing out the fucking maddest techno gig, and then the next night, you know, it's Sunday and they're playing like a barbecue set, you know. You know, Matty's amazing DJ.
Just very versatile.
Gurrieri, you know, Mikey, again, you know, eclectic.
Yeah.
You know, I love listening to him because I'm always listening to music that I don't know. And, you know, it's music that I won't necessarily play as a DJ.
Yeah. But you respect
But I like it, you know. I like listening to it. You know, would I dance to it? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
You know,
another guy I like, Phil Ransom.
Ransom, you know, there's a lot.
Years,
you know, the Janets, you know, Courtney CC Disco, you know, she's played for us. You know, all the Autologic boys, you know, I haven't seen them in a while. You know, good. You know, Andrus Fox locally. You know,
Andrus Fox, yeah,
Andrus is sick. You know, like there's so many really good, inspiring people.
Young, and also young Lister Curray, he's making a bit of a name for his name.
He's cool. I mean, there's so many, like locally, I see a lot of really good DJs that have really thrown their own slant on things, you know, and I really like listening to them DJ. You know?
What's your favourite time to play in the set? I mean,
I love playing early, you know. I love playing early. Like, I love starting the night off so I can just play sounds for 20 minutes. I don't really want to hear a beat for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Just really spaced out. And then, you know, playing some type of, you know, I don't know, like genre-defying music. You know, whether you want to call it progressive rock, funk, or space disco, or cosmic, or I don't know. I don't really define it.
You can't define it.
You know, just really slow, grindy, and then sort of work that up into something that kind of feels like you can dance to.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my favourite thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I really want to do a mix over the next 6 months that's just, you know, a 1 or 2 hours of that, you know, and being very, 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 you know, within myself and not having to sort of think about a dance floor and stretch something like it caught like ultra early set where you may not even be able to dance to it.
Yeah, right.
You know? And you may not even, you would certainly not going to be able to define it, because I listen to these things and there's not really a time or a genre or whatever. And I just want to, you know, sync everything together via key and, you know, effects and make some kind of really tripped out mix. So I'm going to set myself a mission to get on that.
One thing's for sure, whenever I hear you play, I can always tell what fucking mood you're in by what you're playing. It's like a barometer, you know. But interestingly, I mean, for me, some of the best sets I've heard you play were, unfortunately, when you weren't fucking happy.
Yeah.
When you were just fucking angry, you were over it. You're over it all the time, but you were fucking like, something was happening that was really fucking pissing you off hard. But that were some of the best sets I've ever heard you play, I'm sorry to say.
But you know what, I guess when you don't, like for me, what I do now, I do it as a hobby. This is my hobby.
Yeah.
I don't do it because I get money from it. It's
Yeah.
the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
Like here and there, I might make $100 or whatever I make, It's not the point. It's not why I do what I do.
Yeah.
What I do, it's not commercial radio that drives what I do. It's nothing but how I feel.
Yeah.
That's what drives me. And it's very, for me, what's the word for it?
Cathartic.
It's
maybe?
cathartic, and it's all about me. I'm sorry, but it is. It's all about me.
Well, it's your self-expression.
Right? It's not about anybody else. And to be honest, and this might sound rude, I don't really care. Like, you're either with me or fuck off.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
It's all about me. If you want to hear it, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So it's the only thing that guides me is what I feel and how I'm feeling, and that's the only thing I know, and that's the only thing that I can work with.
Yeah.
I don't. It's not like, oh, I think everybody's gonna like this record. Ha ha ha! I'll play this. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'll play it because I like it.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel something that at that moment in time.
And that was always the philosophy with, like, 'cause I think correct me if I'm wrong, was Basement 001?
Yeah, but but all our clubs have always been in that vein.
Yeah, it was always out off the beaten track, always underground, always progressive. Well, when progressive was progressive.
Yeah, but you know, it's at the time, and again, it's
cutting
always,
edge.
It's gonna be each.
But that was your first. Was Basement 001?
That was your first
first club that you guys put together.
You know, exactly. But you know, how you've got to think of it. You know, as much as I think mainstream music sucks, right? Mainstream is always a mirror of what's happening underground, right? So it certainly does make a difference. It certainly affects what happens there. It's what's recognized as normal. You know, there has to be an opposite to that. Sure. And it's always, because that changes. Yeah. And because of times and fashion, it's music and it is fashion that changes. So, you know, what happened 20 years ago to what's happening now, what's regarded as underground, and what do you call it, underground? I just call it different. Like, it's just something that you're not going to hear everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So what's considered different today and was considered different 20 years ago is two different things. But the ethos is the same, is to present that side, whatever that side may be at that time. That's really what it's about. And that's, you know, over 20 years, that what different is now different again. It's different, and it's, you know, it's trying to capture you know, a really wide audience. It's trying to appeal for anyone from, you know, 18 or 20 years old to 50 years old. And if you like music, you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
If you like pop music, you're gonna fucking hate it. So just fuck off. Don't come here.
Yeah.
But if you like music, there's something that in what I try to do when I'm playing is I try to appeal to people's, you know, something in that they're going to relate to, whether they like rock and they like, you know, they like hearing, you know, some guitars, or they like funk, or they like disco, or they like techno.
Yeah.
It's not going to be techno, and it's not going to be rock, but it's certainly going to have those elements in it to draw you into it. And that's what I try to do, is to try to introduce all the different flavors and somehow draw people in, and then get their confidence, and hopefully they go with me. Hopefully. Yeah. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. That's the game of it, right?
Totally.
Because if it worked for you all the time, it wouldn't be fun, right?
It'd be boring.
But that's the fun part. Is it going to work for me tonight? Am I going to get the formula right?
Yeah.
Is everyone going to fall into my trap tonight? Yeah. And that's it. And once it works, it's fucking awesome. But when it doesn't, next week, try again. Yeah.
So tell us, Slow Motion Social Club. How that'll start up?
Well, again, it was
because that got, and I know you're going to be all fucking dismissive about it, but that got voted, or it was an article that got into the top 25 parties in the world at the moment, which is, that's a phenomenal achievement.
It's pretty good.
I know you're very dismissive of it.
I'm not dismissive. It's just like, look, it's somebody's opinion, and everybody's got one.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
But
people do believe what you feed them, right? You know, like people believe what.
Yeah, mate. But what I say, the proof of the pudding, mate. I mean, you've been going for how many years now? Four.
Well, this is our fifth year.
Fifth year, right? You're about to fucking relaunch after My Aeon has renovated. They've got a fucking great sound system in there. It's all fucking killer.
I mean, look, the breakdown is this.
How did it come about?
So I'd go out and I was DJing, and I'd just come back from, you know, I was overseas for a few years, and I came back, and I didn't really feel like I fit in anywhere. Like at that point, I wasn't.
You never fit in anywhere, mate.
Right, I didn't.
You never fit in. You always did your own thing, mate.
Right.
From all the time I've known you, you always did that.
Right.
That was always the thing.
And you know, okay, so I never fit in, and I came back and somehow wanted to fit in, you know, because I didn't really know what was going on, and you know, I wasn't out and about. So I'd started going out and I started playing here and there and there, and to be honest, it was fucking boring. Everywhere I went, it was like regurgitated, you know, and it was the days of, you know, people were still doing, it was like minimal, and it was kind of really fucking boring. Like everywhere I went, you'd walk in and it would be one sound, and then 3, 4, 5, 6 hours later, it would still be the same sound. Yeah. And it was just like, it was grating. Like in terms of technicality, it was like you'd walk in and people were playing 122 beats per minute to about 126. So in terms of technically, I mean, I could do that shit with no headphones on, with my eyes closed. That's how simple it was, and that's what I would do. And it was just like, this is shit. So I did that for a while, and it was really killing me. It was like I was doing DJing, which I obviously love, but I just thought that I didn't like DJing anymore. But it wasn't that I didn't like DJing anymore. It was like trying to fit in and doing what everybody kind of expected of me, but it just wasn't working for me. So I went, all right, fuck this. So I went out one night and I played at a party with Lister. It was Lister's party. Yeah. And it was a night called, what was that night called? It was in the city. It was at the Loot Bar. And I decided that, fuck this, I'm just going to do exactly what I feel like. So I went there and I did it, and I played.
Yeah, come in a bit, mate.
Really across the board, you know, really slow, and the place went crazy, you know. And I finished my set. I was so happy, and I was like, right, from now on in, this is how it's going to be. Yeah. I'm never ever going to do anything what's expected of me ever again. Fuck it, this is how I'm going to DJ. Take it or leave it. Yeah. And that was it. So I decided, right, where am I going to do this? So I wanted to find somewhere that was completely out of the way, that to actually go there, you couldn't accidentally go there. You couldn't have been walking past, I'll go in there. No.
You had to specifically want to be, you had a purpose to be there.
You had a purpose to go there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so I thought, fuck it, you know, we'll do this for the summer. We'll see how we go, because I'm bored, you know, and we did it and it worked. And then we just kept doing it. And then, you know, 2 years in, you know, I spoke to Steve. I'm like, listen, I really need a sound system in here. You know, I said, do you want to keep fucking around, or do you want to, put your flag in the sand and go, right, we're here, let's get serious.
Make a statement.
Right? And he did. So we put a serious sound system in. We did some really serious acoustics for the room. The room sounded incredible. And we started doing parties, and then I started inviting my favourite DJs. And okay, come over here, come have a spin. I've set this up now, and then it wasn't like the crowd had to be trained anymore. It's like, do whatever you want. Just
they're up for it.
Just do what you want. Just come here and do what you want. You know, you know, I had some amazing DJs come through and just threw whatever they could at the crowd. The crowd's like, fucking yeah, let's have it. Yeah. And I guess, you know, I mean, the write-ups you get, it's because of that. It's because we've had the people through. Everyone that's come in there to play has been, A, oh my God, this sound system's incredible. It sounds amazing back here. Yeah. B, oh my God, this crowd's fucking insane. Yeah.
And they're good heads, mate. They're just really friendly, nice people. Right. And for guys like me who are fucking 50, could go to a club, not feel out of place, friendly.
But that's what it is.
But that's what it should be. It's not always. It doesn't always work that way, Phil.
It doesn't. But you know what? What I find is, if you can get an audience, right? Because it's reflective of anything, right? Yeah. And this is what I've always gone with. This is why I choose the road I choose, because music is a reflection of your mindset across the board. If you are going to be open-minded and inclusive and give everything a chance, well, guess what? It's not just music that's going to happen with. Yeah. Right? It's your attitude towards life.
The energy.
Right? Yeah. And it's your attitude towards everything. Yeah. You're not really going to care, oh my God, that guy's kissing that guy. Who gives a fuck? Is he cool with you? Yeah. Is he dancing? Fucking yes. That's what you're there for. Yeah. You know? And that's what it is. It just becomes an attitude to life, and it becomes your attitude. And if you can draw those kind of people to one place, they all know. They all can see each other. They all feel it. Yeah. And that's when you get that.
Yeah. And a testament to that is when, in the early days, when I was going more often on the monthly basis, because there was a lot of, there's a lot of outside heads, but a lot of your friends were coming to support you. So there was already that established community, if you want to call it,
yeah.
right? But fast forward a few years later, where a lot of those heads, including myself, haven't been going as often, but you go into that club and there's a same good fucking vibe.
Yeah.
Nice people,
Yeah.
friendly people.
Yeah.
Same, as you said, the attitude, the vibe, the energy of the place, you know. And as you said, you've established almost a culture.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, leave. And that's the beauty of it. People come in, oh, yeah, but mate, can you pump it up? It's like, mate, what part of slow motion
Don't you understand?
don't you understand?
Yeah.
Like, it's in the name, man.
Yeah.
If you don't get that, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, catch you later.
Yeah. It does exactly what it says on the packet.
It says on the packet, mate. It says it. Get out. You either get in or get out. It doesn't make a difference to me. I'm not here for the money. I'm here for you to have a good time. If you're not having a good time, there's about a million other places that I reckon you're going to have a great time at.
Yeah.
It's not going to be here tonight.
Free up some space for someone else.
Right, get out. It's good, isn't it?
Fucking hell. You know what? For someone who said to me earlier on, what we're going to talk about is not to talk about. You've had a lot to talk about.
Oh, man, you get me going.
Well, mate, it's great. That's great. You know, we got to fucking get you back another time, dude. You know, because our time's unfortunately run out.
Have we run out?
Unfortunately, we run out.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's great.
But anyway, before we go, if there's anything you'd probably want to say, because mate, you've started from nothing. You've had a good idea about your journey. You've overcome a lot of obstacles. You've had to overcome a lot, and I was there because I was there to fucking see it, man. So, so what would you tell a kid now, who's trying to bust out in the scene? What are the few of the fundamental things you think?
Don't be ignorant, right? That's it. That's the bottom line.
Ignorant of what? Like
ignorant of everything, man. Like, it's very easy to go and say, I've downloaded 200 records and now I'm a DJ. And I get this every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And going back to why am I embarrassed to call myself a DJ? This is why I'm embarrassed to call myself a DJ.
Yeah.
Because you've got, out of 100 people that call themselves a DJ, 98 of them is exactly what I just told you.
Yeah.
They own 300 MP3s at 128 kilobit, but they're a DJ. Their music knowledge doesn't go pre-2014, but they're a DJ.
Yeah.
Right? It's the blind leading the blind, and they're a DJ. But the problem is this. The problem is you own one of these. In this thing is the world's knowledge of music.
Yeah.
If you choose not to read up and learn about what you're doing, and you're ignorant, ignorance is your life choice.
Yeah.
It's not because you have to be. It's not because you have to go and buy a magazine from New York to learn what the latest thing is and what the hottest record is. It's up to you to not be an idiot and learn about what you're doing.
Do you think maybe then it's a case of kids today, and I'm not having a go at kids.
And again, it's not all of them.
No, but do you think in general, do you think it's because because they're sport for choice, they got everything, whereas back in the day, you had to, and there wasn't as much, but also you had to fucking utilize every ounce of everything you fucking had.
Yeah.
Whereas now, there's so much overload of information, of music, of technology, of ease.
But look,
you can't get the fully fucking
If you want to call
utilize
yourself something, if you want to call yourself an animator, or if you want to call yourself a movie producer, or if you want to call yourself a mastering engineer, there's a certain level of knowledge that you need to have. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
In this game, you need to own 300, 128 kilobit MP3s and a Mixtrack Pro 3 for $300 in Serato. And guess what? You are calling yourself the same as me.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what I'm saying. You should understand where this came from, why it happened, how it relates to what you're doing. Why is a 128 kilobit MP3 not the right format for me to be DJing to an audience with? That red and white chord. What's that red and white chord called? Don't be ignorant. Yeah. Like, it's common things. You know, there was an article a couple of weeks ago. Some club in LA said they don't want laptop DJs.
Yeah.
Now, what was that all about? It wasn't simply because they didn't want laptop DJs. It was because these chord kids would come in, unplug the fucking CDJ, and then don't know where the red and white chord goes. Right?
Yeah.
It's not a fucking chord.
Yeah.
Right? My mum calls it a chord.
Yeah.
Right? So learn your terminology, learn what this shit is, and if you're going to be doing technical stuff, which is not that technical, know what you're doing. Yeah. It's not much to ask, and this is what I would say, because you end up looking like a clown. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And this is, if I had to say to kids to anything, it's, the technique, the music, but you really need to respect all this shit, and you need to have a very good base knowledge of equipment
Yep.
and how shit works.
Yeah.
And don't turn around and go, well, you know, I'm not very good at computers. But you're trying to DJ with your computer. So how are you telling me that you're not very good with computers, but yet your instrument is your computer, but you're not very good with it?
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that just drives me crazy. So kids, that's what I would say to them.
Yeah.
Just learn your shit.
Learn
Don't
your shit
be ignorant.
and just fucking practice and just fucking
'Cause like I
learn
said,
your craft.
Ignorance,
No
it's
excuse.
a life choice.
Yeah.
It's a life choice. That should be on a fucking t-shirt. Ignorance, it's a life choice.
That's fucking awesome, man. All right. On that note, mate, dude.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks very much for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you.
So good to see you.
Nice to see you, man.
Fucking good talk. And we'll have to get you back again because there's fuckloads more to talk about.
There is.
Stories and shit like that.
Oh,
but,
stop it.
you know.
I don't want to incriminate anyone.
Yeah, no, mate, but fuck. For some cunt, he said, fucking, I got nothing to talk about. You did all right.
Yeah.
You did all right, you rude cunt.
Thanks,
It was great.
man.
All right.
Thank you.
Fucking thanks, bro. All right, well, we're out of here. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you another time. And as I always say, please be nice to each other, but more importantly, be nice to yourselves. I love you fuckers. Thank you. See ya. And that, my friend, is a fucking podcast done and fucking dusted. And thanks for fucking coming.
Thanks.